All right, well, let's go ahead and call this meeting of the Isani City Council to order. If we can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Doing roll call, we have all council members present. Do we have any public comment this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to adopting the agenda. Do we have any modifications?
Good evening, Mayor. No, we do not.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Merrill to adopt the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. For proclamations this week, we have, next week actually, will be the Week of the Young Child, and I'll just go ahead and read the proclamation here real quick. Whereas many local organizations in conjunction with the National Association of the Education of Young Children are celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 6th through April 12th. And whereas these organizations are working to improve early learning opportunities, including early literacy programs that can provide a foundation of learning for children in Isanti, Minnesota. And whereas teachers and others who make a difference in the lives of young children in Isanti, Minnesota deserve thanks and recognition. And whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures, I, James Gordon, Mayor of the City of Isani, do hereby proclaim April 6th through April 12th, 2024 as the Week of the Young Child and encourage all citizens to work to make a good investment in early childhood in Isanti, Minnesota. We'll move on to approving the City Council meeting minutes. We have the meeting minutes from our council meeting on March 19th, as well as our Committee of the Whole meeting from March 19th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve those minutes from Councilman Merrill and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. For announcements, we have our Committee of the Whole meeting coming up on Tuesday, April 16th at 5 p.m. Our Planning Commission meeting will also be the 16th at 6 p.m. City Council on the 16th at 7 p.m. And the Park and Rec Board meeting will be Tuesday, April 23rd at 6 p.m. Do we have any council committee reports?
At Fire District, we kind of are going over the numbers for call volumes for this year versus last year. And our, the percentages have dropped humongously. You know, I mean, it's, you know, I edge on the caution side is we don't want to start dropping that budgeted amount per city, you know, and entities paying in, because there's always going to be an issue that comes up, tires or fire truck repairs and whatever, but they have dropped significantly, you know, like 50% in call volumes from last year to this time. That's huge.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But it's, you know, like I said, we don't want to, I'd rather just stay like this than do this, and then all of a sudden, no, we got a big surprise, you know? I mean, there's always going to be something that happens to one of those trucks. So, other than that, that's just moving forward.
So I went to the school board meeting, about a week and a half ago, and they went through their budget and sort of what they spend a year. So I thought it was interesting. They're budgeting roughly $71 million per year, 5,106 students, which comes out to costing roughly $14,000 per student per year. At the school board meeting, I made a public statement or question sort of about why school taxes increased while the city and county have sort of held more fiscally conservative and kept the taxes more constant. I also asked why they're complying with unfunded state mandates, which could increase taxes and how they'll approach that going forward. Their fund balance is roughly 35% of their operating costs, which is a pretty healthy amount, and I was happy to see that. That's basically like a slush fund. We talk about that all the time here. With the way the state is funding schools, I think it's important for them to have that fund balance. And also at the Chamber of Commerce meeting, Mayor Gordon spoke about the state of the city of Isani, which is basically a general overview of the city and what we as a city and council have been working on. There are roughly 85 people in attendance, and I think it went well. There's also a member of the Arrowhead Transit Group who is directly involved with the passenger train that is slated to go from the cities to Duluth with the main stop in Cambridge. I spoke to him, and told him there was some voice of concern in the community about that train. And he encouraged me to let anybody know that if they have a concern, to either message me and I can send proof that there's a concern, because they need proof that the citizens are concerned and not just hearsay. And he will get that to the leadership at Arrowhead and maybe look at other options for that. So if anybody has any concerns with that, please reach out to me or Arrowhead Transit. And that's it for my reports this month.
Okay.
I just want to add something, I ran into an inspector today that, and you'll know this, the rest of you guys really won't, but he worked for MinSpec at the time when we had MinSpec. And he made a comment that the city council, the mayor, and everybody was bought out by two builders. He named one of them, and I knew who the other one he was referring to, that we cowed to them because of MinSpec's problems. And I said, and I just let him talk, and I said, well, I'm on the city council, and I said, I've been there for many years. And I said, there wasn't a problem with the inspections. The problem was it took 3 months to get permits issued for housing. That was the problem, the whole problem. I don't care what builder it was, and I don't care if you know, the builders that he's referring to, they talk to other builders, and they're like, don't build Nisani because it takes forever to get a permit. And I said, that was the problem. Now, the company that bought out MinSpec now is basically, they're in multiple states. So, yeah, they're in multiple states. So that's not like he was originally, where he was just in Minnesota. So they're trying to, you know, you become a conglomerate or whatever. So I don't know, I'm doing some work with them on another project in Columbus, but I was kind of dumbfounded at that's what he was told, and I said, that isn't the truth. Because I think, you know, I stood up and said, dude, listen, there's a problem. It shouldn't take 3 months to get a permit.
Yeah. When I first got on the council in 2019 was when I think you guys were kind of already starting to look at
Yep.
getting rid of MinSpec at that time.
Yep.
And so that was kind of at the very beginning of my time here, was one of the first things that I think we did was change over
Yep.
from that, or at least in the first year it was, I think.
And I just told him, I said, it wasn't because of the inspections.
No.
I've never had a problem
I
with
think
what
that they would
MinSpec's
go and they would do an inspection, and then they would come back with things that they could have
When they-
had on the
when they
list
would
to
do
get
a plan-
fixed from the time before.
When they came in with a plan review, and they would go over and make corrections, they would make the corrections, send it back, then they would turn around and send it back and say, I need more corrections. And they would do this multiple times. There's no reason for that. Take the extra couple days, go through everything, make sure you get all your corrections, and not say, oh, I missed this one, now I need you to submit it again. That was the problem, it was turning the permits over. I've never had a problem with their inspectors, and I've dealt with a lot of their inspectors in different cities. I said there was never a problem with inspectors, it was always a problem with that turnaround for that permit.
I remember that issue really came to light when they were doing the cabinet, repairing the cabinet shop, and every time they'd come to inspect it, they'd come up with something different. Yeah, that was a MinSpec. It wasn't anything to do with anything other than their administration, and their management was pretty bad.
Yep.
So I think it was a great move for us. I'm happy Rum River's been better. But you know, if they sold out to a bigger conglomerate, their service is just going to get worse and worse. Which local government, local control is always better. So
Ms. Wood said she got a phone call, and she thought it was MinSpec, and it was or you thought it was something, it was from out of state.
The email person's last name was similar to an email that was associated with MinSpec, but it was not MinSpec. They had maybe taken over some of it or acquired it.
So it's a conglomerate, is what he told me, and that's why he left them, because he didn't want to be part of that big corporate problem. But I said there was never a problem with the inspections, it was a problem with getting the permits issued. That's the problem.
I think we've been pretty satisfied with Rum River, and, you know, I mean, I think all things, I mean, if you had an ideal situation, you would have your own building inspector. I think it's just easier and better to have somebody in-house, and you get a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more just being able to work.
Personability.
Yeah, right. You had more of a personal relationship with the builders because of that, and I think that helps a lot, but.
Yeah, I
but
did talk
it's just
to,
tough, I mean, not many cities, I mean, a lot of cities are moving toward what we're doing and what a lot of other cities have done too, is to contract that out, so.
at the chamber meeting, I talked to a construction business manager, and he was basically saying the same thing, that a lot of cities are going to the hired out approach. He preferred, obviously, when we had our own building inspector, because you know what you're gonna get and you know what he looks for. But at the end of the day, it's, you know, fiscal responsibility is the most important thing, so. And he had no complaints with Rum River specifically, so.
Yeah, yep. Yeah. Any other committee reports?
My community education committee had, schools are closed, so we had a snow day. So we did not have one.
And actually, I don't think we've had a park board meeting for a couple months, that we were snowed out too, and then I think the other one, I think, fell on caucus night or something like that, yeah, so I don't have much. I don't know, George, you got anything? Nope. All right. All right. Moving on to public hearings, we have J1, which is the annual MS4 report.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me? Okay. This is the annual MS4 report that we're required to do by the state. MS4 background for the city of Isanti. It was originally developed as part of the 1972 Clean Water Act, and it was initiated in 2007 by the state. And the city of Isanti became an MS4 city in 2016. Basically, the threshold is roughly 5,000 people. Once you hit that amount, you're required by the state of Minnesota if you have any waters that can be contaminated within your jurisdiction from discharged stormwater. So we're basically authorized to discharge into the Rum River and the watershed. The permit was reauthorized to the state of Minnesota in 2021, and a bunch of new best management practices, so BMPs, were implemented in 2022, which is the year we were audited, which led us to update many of our procedures and increase our documentation. And we implemented these practices through regulatory mechanisms, education and outreach, and environmental protection. These are our partnerships. The 2023 report is due June 30th, 2024. But it's not actually due to be submitted until their new process comes online. So we actually haven't even submitted the 2022 report yet because they're switching to an online system. They expect it to be up and ready sometime in the next few months. We just haven't, we got an updated email saying to expect it, but we haven't, they just pushed out the deadline. But we did put all of our information together as we have in the previous years, so we are ready to go. The illicit discharges is what we're really here to talk about. It's something we need to report on every year. And so in 2023, we had 2 discharges found by city staff within the city, and they were really just construction site issues that were found in the Fairway Greens North development, which is our most common one that we receive within the city. We have, some of it is concrete washout or dirt in a driveway, so area. So nothing really too big for last year, no gas spills or anything like that. We did issue 104 violation letters. Most of them were regarding the new construction projects, just because it's so busy out there on the streets, so you get a lot of dirt on the roadway from traffic going in and out. The minimum control measures that we require, the best management practices are public education and outreach, public participation, elimination of illicit discharges to the storm sewer system, construction site runoff controls, post-construction runoff controls, and pollution prevention and municipal good housekeeping. For public education and participation. We have the Rain Garden Incentive Program, which is really limited within the city, of which properties can really, it's directed at properties that are meant to have a rain garden according to the way that runoff works throughout the city.
I had a question about that, if that's okay.
Yep.
So I looked at that today, and it seems like it's a lot of extra work for a resident to get a $500 reimbursement. Is there any way we can simplify that or make that easier for someone to do, to incentivize them to actually do it?
It's really guided by the SWIP and where in specific locations that we needed to increase runoff in those specific locations. So not all properties are eligible for it. It's guided by the state.
Okay. Yeah, it just seemed like it was a lot of extra runaround for a $500 reimbursement personally. So I would like to see if there's anything we can do to make that more, what's the word? More better for residents, so it's more appealing.
Okay.
If there's any way, because I think that is good thing to have, but is it worth it to go through the process? I mean, I was thinking about it, but me personally, I don't think it's worth all the work for $500 reimbursement. So I think other people will feel the same, even though it is a great idea and it could save our storm sewer system some work.
Okay, staff can look into that and see what can
Okay.
be done. I know it is very specific
Yeah.
on which sites can use it in which parts of the city because it's basically flowing towards the river. So I know most of it's on the west side towards the banks of the Rum River.
Okay.
And
Is there any reason why it's specific like that? I mean, all the stormwater all goes to the same place, so you'd think any stormwater runoff that's taken care of at any location would help.
The guidance was through the Isanti Soil and Water Conservation District, and then through our overall permit for the MS4, so it's guided through those areas. So I know it's outlined already in the process which parcels it works for. Yes. Yeah, it's
So
not.
complicated for such a simple thing that people could actually do. And, I mean, if we had enough people do that, that would help us a lot, but nobody's gonna go through all that extra stuff, I don't think, for the rebate, and that's why it goes unused relatively. So, I mean, is there any way you can do it without them involved?
I will have to look at if the money is coming directly from the city, then we likely could.
Okay,
But if the money is coming from a certain pot of money that somebody else is providing, likely not.
okay, sure. Thanks.
Another public education we do is through the Isanian, which we still had, even though we have smaller articles, it still is linked to our website on there. We usually have some sort of seasonal stormwater blip about it. We also have resources on the city website and participate in the Water Festival booth with the city of Cambridge, which is for fifth graders, and also the 8th grade career day, just letting them know more about the impacts of stormwater runoff. Illicit discharge response procedure is covered under ordinance 670 stormwater, and our associate planner tracks all this along with the code enforcement officer and public works officials. So they're all trained and looking for illicit discharges throughout the city.
I have another question. Do you have any idea how much it would cost to put like an oil separator or something in the final line before it enters the realm? Is that anything that we could look into? I mean, they're so worried about stormwater, but you'd think it probably wouldn't be that expensive to put some sort of separator system in it,
Very expensive.
is it?
Yeah.
I mean, well, it's very expensive. We already pay, I mean,
One that you put in your.
oh, I know in a small one is expensive, yeah.
Yeah, so that's gonna be 1,000 times bigger, so multiply that times 100,000.
Okay. Well, it'd be interesting to see if that's, if we're worried about it.
Expensive, and then there's gonna be a lot of maintenance.
I know that oil traps are,
And we are very lucky to be living in very sandy soils, and sand is
Right.
one of the best filters for runoff collection and filtering.
Where most of that goes into holding ponds, and then it doesn't get to the river.
oh, really? Okay.
Most of the storm water goes into holding ponds.
And then the sediment sinks to the ground. Okay, got it.
Construction site runoff controls, this is one of the biggest things that we're looking for, as we have a lot of construction going on within the city. This is just a map of one of our construction But it is developed and maintained by the associate planner. And every parcel under construction within the city is inspected every 7 days as we are required to. And the procedure and checklists were developed and updated in 2022. And we also have a priority site list that is a spreadsheet that she's able to just track off any possible issues that are at each of those sites at the time while she's in the field. And then post-construction stormwater management, we have a developed and written procedure for site plan reviews prior to the start of construction activity, tracked and enforced erosion control procedures throughout the entire process, and there are civil penalties for violation, as well as we have enforcement response procedures that are implemented.
I know like the city of Ham Lake, they will not do any inspections if there is in violation of the stormwater runoff.
Yes, and
They won't do any inspections.
that is how our enforcement procedure goes too. We get a warning letter, and if they don't become in compliance, we will withhold inspections for building inspections. It's the only way we can get people to come into compliance, often for construction sites. Pollution prevention, good housekeeping. We have a facilities inventory of all of the stormwater facilities throughout the city. And we have identified the current stormwater practices, and we have a written good housekeeping procedure outlined for every incident. We're working on increasing public outreach and training. Ideas are to increase social media and information available at city-held events. We're required to continue to increase the amount of public outreach and training we do each year. Continue to implement and improve the SWIP and our enforcement response procedures document. And we partner with Bolton and Mank on all of the construction projects that we have going on, as well as Rum River Consultants, because they're in the field too. That's it. Any other questions?
So I did want to mention, we had briefly talked about leaf collection. Leaf collection would help our stormwater system, correct? I looked into some somewhat cost-effective options today, and I reached out to a company to see how much it would be to get a pump and grinder set up, or sucker and grinder set up for like a plow truck. It's looking like there are options between $20,000 and $50,000. I'd have to do a little bit more work on that, but I'm waiting to hear back from some companies, so we may be able to make something work for that to help our residents as well as our stormwater sewer system.
You think it'd be efficient enough with I think we looked into that before and just trying to find a used truck like what North Branch has.
No, it wouldn't be a truck.
But yeah, so I mean, do you think it'll work to?
It would
to
be
do it with a plow truck?
So what they do is, a lot of people have these on their trucks. They have a receiver hitch mount and with like a 35 horsepower engine, and then it has a sucker with a 10-foot arm that you manually articulate it when you buy it, but I would look into building some sort of electronic servo system so it does it. I've seen that on the bigger trucks. And then you put a tarp on the top, and you can grind and fit a lot of leaves in the back of once they're ground, you can fit a lot.
Okay.
So I wanted something that, would easily go on and then be not in the way when you want to dump the truck too. So you wouldn't have a trailer or anything like that, so it'd be easy and fast. But it's gonna take, I don't know if anybody's ever done it, the way I want to do it exactly, but I think it'd be the most efficient way to do it for the bang for the buck type of thing. So I'm gonna come back with a lot more information on that, but I'm hopeful that something will work out on that.
Okay. I don't think so. Any other questions at all, guys? All right. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, well, so we'll move on to our business items. Okay, so let's go ahead and skip K1 go ahead.
Mayor and Council, we're going to be moving the Isani Area Joint Fire District Annual Report presentation to the April 16th meeting.
Okay. So we will discuss that on April 16th. So K2 will now be our new K1, I guess, a resolution to consider approving a special event permit for Rum River BMX, the 2024 Gold Cup / Minnesota State Qualifier Race.
Excuse me, Mayor, we have to open a public hearing and close it for the MS4 report, just to see if any questions
Oh, I'm
from the
sorry.
public.
Okay, sure.
I should have mentioned that.
Yeah, no, that's my fault. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open a public hearing on the annual MS4 report. If anybody has any comments, please come forward now. All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close that public hearing, and we'll move on to our next business item, which, like I said, was the Rum River BMX 2024 Gold Cup / Minnesota State Qualifier Race.
Good evening again. We have Rum River BMX, who is hosting the Gold Cup Minnesota State Qualifier Race event, April 25th through the 28th. Hours will be 4 to 10 p.m. on the 25th and 26th, and 8 to 5 p.m. on the 27th and 28th. An estimated 800 to 1,000 people will be in attendance each day of the event. Parking will be in the main parking lot with overflow into the soccer field parking lot. Staff is requesting proof of approval to use the Soccer Association parking lot. Camping will be in the grass lot to the south of the building. 6 portable restrooms will be on site, and Rum River BMX will have volunteers cleaning up the property. If you remember, we used to have require paid parking through the city and no longer do that, so just to refresh everyone's memories from last year. They are requesting to use 6 barricades and 25 no parking signs, and for the drop-off time of equipment on April 26, 2024 at 11 a.m. They are also requesting that the $100 cleanup deposit fee be waived.
I make a motion to approve, and I just want to state, we've never had problems with the BMX at all.
No.
They've been a great asset to the city. I support them 110%, and if you remember right, I was one that pushed to get rid of that parking over there. Because they're taking care of this thing. And the only thing we always had is when they're camping, if they damage the grass, reseed it or repair it, and they've always done it. So I'm 100% behind it, and waiving that $100 fee, whatever that fee was, absolutely.
I'll second.
I have a question on that. Do we have a electric meter on those campsites? I'm just curious if we know how much electricity is actually used.
There's no electric from
Oh,
my
They
there's-
don't bring
understanding.
generators, Susan.
Oh, okay, I thought there was electric over there for some reason.
No.
Okay.
Big grass field.
Yeah, did we talk about putting electrical out? Okay.
I hope not.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure. I thought for some reason we had. Okay.
Did you guys want to add anything at all about the event, or? No? Okay, all right. So I had a motion, I believe, from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Moving on to our next business item, resolution to consider approving a special event permit for the June 11th Family Summer Entertainment Series partnership with Cambridge Isani Schools.
Good evening again. The City of Isanti is hosting the first Family Summer Event Series on June 11th, 2024. We were asked by the school district to see if we would be interested to partner in a teddy bear band event at the amphitheater prior to their knowledge of us hosting them in a month prior, or a month after. And so they asked if we'd have any interest in partnering instead of doubling up on this same event a month apart. The event would be held at the Bluebird Amphitheater from 5 to 7 p.m. and from 5 to 6 p.m. the Cambridge Isani Schools, specifically the ECFE, to celebrate their 50th anniversary, I believe, would be providing some activities such as sidewalk chalk, bubble, sensory bins, art projects, and a snack for the participants. A story stroll will be provided by the East Central Regional Library and will also occur during this time. And then from 6 to 7 p.m., the City of Isanti would provide the performance of the Teddy Bear Band. An estimated 100 to 300 people will be in attendance, and parking will be in the northwest and southeast lots at Bluebird Park. So we usually don't request special event permits for our own events, but since this is a partnership, we wanted you to approve it before moving forward.
Motion to approve.
I do have one question on this one. So the story stroll provided by the East Central Regional Library, do we know tell me about how that works and what that is and.
Yep, we have worked with them in the past at other family event series events, and I think they're coming to 2 other ones as well. They have books that are basically on the step-in signs that you see, the corrugated signs with books on them, and they walk you through reading the story that way. So you walk through the park as you read the book. So it's a movement way to read the book and enjoy the park at the same time.
Okay. I don't have a problem approving this partnership, but I would like to know exactly what book and title they plan on using for any event that we're partnering with them on. So
I agree.
I'd like that to be approved by the council. But I'm fine with approving this, but I'd like that to come back to make sure that we know exactly what the library is gonna be putting out there for content.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay,
I'll second that motion with that amendment.
okay. So I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Merrill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0.
Did just have a quick question. How much is a teddy bear band?
I believe we're paying, I want to say $600 to $700. We did receive a grant through ECRAC, which will be coming to get approved. We just are receiving the stuff now, but that will cover the cost for the city.
Okay.
All right. Any questions on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. And then we're going to be going into a closed session here and I suppose I got to read this. Closed session for discussion regarding security systems and procedures within city facilities pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.5 subdivision 3D.
And specifically, the location will be City Hall.
Mhm.